Hey, Daryl here, and this is my daily devotional. God has a way of prevailing over evil every time. Listen, what man intends for evil, God often has a way of spinning into his will being accomplished. Let me explain a couple examples. The evil brothers, due to the jealousy in their heart, threw their brother Joseph into that cistern, sold him into slavery. Yet it was God's will to raise him up as an authority figure in Egypt to save them from the famine. Time passed. Pharaoh came and went, and a new Pharaoh king comes who didn't know about what Joseph did. Threatened by the large number of Hebrew people in Egypt, he enslaves them, places them in hard labor. Their numbers continue to increase. And the Pharaoh says, we're going to abort the birth of all the boys. The midwives didn't cooperate. And then he says, I'm going to have all the boy babies thrown into the Nile. This must have been exceedingly catastrophic, as the soldiers would have gone through the camps of the Canaanite people and there take their babies and throw them into the Nile to drown. We have no idea how many baby boys may have been aborted in this way. As it says in Exodus chapter 1 at verse 23, Pharaoh gave this order to all his people. Every boy that is born you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live. According to a Focus on the Family statistic, it's estimated that since 1973, there have been more than 55 million abortions in the United States. That is evil at its core. But somehow, and I don't know how, but somehow God will see it to his will being accomplished. Because you see, even in the unknown number of Hebrew baby boys thrown into the Nile, God had a plan. Listen as I read here in Exodus chapter 2, beginning in verse 1. Now a man of the house of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. She didn't allow those Egyptians to grab him and throw him into the Nile. Verse 3, but when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him, coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Well, in essence, the King Pharaoh's decree came to pass because the baby Moses was put into the Nile. Just put into the Nile in a basket that wouldn't sink, but rather would float right down to the very person, the daughter of Pharaoh herself. And then, to beat all, this new baby that she immediately saw and had compassion towards needed a mother to nurse this baby. Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe. Her attendants were walking along the riverbank. They saw the basket among the reeds and sent the slave girl to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrew babies, she said. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? Yes, go. So she answered, and the girl went and got the baby's mother. So by this act of daring to place her baby in a basket in the Nile, she had the privilege still of nursing that young baby Moses. Somehow, God's will always trumps evil. I don't know how God's will is going to trump the evil of 55 plus million abortions since 1973. But somehow I know in confidence He will. Just as He used Joseph, and now we see He's going to use Moses. God bless you. Good day.